You ever get that feeling like something was off from the very beginning, but you just couldn't put your finger on it? That's the kind of vibe people are now looking back on when it comes to Meghan Markle and her entry into the royal family. Because let's be real, something about it never sat right with a lot of folks. It's like watching a movie for the second time and finally catching all the red flags you missed the first time around. Now, this isn't just about some innocent Hollywood actress falling in love with a prince and living out a fairy tale. This is starting to look more like a slow burn thriller where every move might have had a deeper motive, and now out of nowhere a nuclear-level claim is making the rounds. Prince William allegedly told close friends that Meghan Markle wanted him, not Harry him. Yeah, she wanted to sleep with me. That's what he supposedly said, not in public, not in an interview, but behind closed doors to people he trusted. And now it's out. Let that sink in for a second. Cause this changes everything. It's not just gossip anymore. If this is true, it turns the already messy dynamic between the brothers into something way more personal. Forget about political differences, royal rules, or media pressure. This is about loyalty, betrayal, and blurred lines that go straight to the heart of the royal rift. And the craziest part, some people are saying the signs were there all along. Before Meghan ever met Harry, she was already knee-deep in the royal rabbit hole. Friends from her past have said she wasn't just curious about the monarchy, she was obsessed. She knew the royal rankings of rules, who was next in line, and who carried the real power. And right at the top of that pyramid, Prince William, the golden boy, the future king, smart, respected, and already polished by a lifetime in the spotlight. Meghan, according to people who knew her back then, saw that and admired it. But admiration's one thing, strategic interest, that's something else. Sources are now whispering that long before Harry was even a blip on Meghan's radar, she had her eyes on William, not necessarily in a creepy or desperate way, but in a calculated, he fits the profile kind of way, like she had a checklist, and William ticked every box: powerful, stable, clean, reputation, key material. If that's true, then her eventual relationship with Harry might not have been pure coincidence. It might have been Plan B. Think about how that plays out inside the palace walls. Let's say William picked up on it, maybe not right away, but eventually. A strange vibe during a conversation, a lingering look, an odd compliment that didn't feel quite appropriate. Nothing blatant, but enough for him to feel uncomfortable, enough to make him say something to Kate. And if Kate felt it too, that explains everything. Her coldness, her distance, the weird tension at public events. It wasn't just about Meghan being American or breaking protocol. It might have been personal, really personal. Now imagine being in Harry's shoes. Your older brother, the man you grew up looking up to, even through your differences, tells you point blank that your wife may have been into him before she met you. How do you process that? Do you believe it? Do you brush it off as jealousy or paranoia? Or do you start thinking back, retracing the timeline, wondering what the hell actually happened in those early days? This is a kind of thing that rips families apart, and maybe that's exactly what it did, because after that claim, if it really happened, things reportedly got icy fast. Harry and William, who were already on shaky ground, barely spoke. Meghan and Kate, basically strangers under the same royal roof. Every public event turned into a minefield, every glance dissected by the tabloids, and behind the scenes you can bet there were heated conversations, shouting matches, maybe even ultimatums, and yet nobody said anything, not publicly. The palace's unofficial rule has always been never complain, never explain. But let's be real, some things are too big to ignore, and this is one of them. If William felt strongly enough to say those words, he must have hit his limit. He must have been tired of playing nice while feeling like something shady had happened under his nose, and now that it's all leaking out, it feels like the dam has broken, the gloves are off. But here's the twist: Meghan hasn't said a word, not yet anyway, and that silence, it's loud, because anyone who knows Meghan knows she doesn't back down from a fight. She stood up to the press, to the monarchy, to the entire British media machine. She's not the type to let a claim like this go unanswered, so either she's prepping for a response, or the silence is its own message. Either way, the whole thing has people questioning everything. Was her entry into the royal family really about love, or was it a carefully executed plan that didn't quite go the way she expected? Did she fall for Harry or settle for him? The more you dig, the messier it gets. And this is just the beginning. Behind closed doors, things in the palace weren't as polished as they looked in public. Royal life might come with tiaras and titles, but when you strip all that away, it's just another family dealing with pride, suspicion, and awkward dynamics. And this situation between Meghan, William, and Harry, it was a ticking time bomb the whole time. Staff who were around during those early royal events started noticing something was off, not dramatic, not scandalous, but subtle. Meghan was charming, too charming according to a few aides. Her energy around William felt different. She was always smiling, leaning and making eye contact longer than usual. At first it could have been brushed off as confidence, maybe even nerves, but over time it began to make people uncomfortable. One aide reportedly described it as a performance that never turned off Meghan. Was on always, whether it was around Harry, William, or even guests at royal dinners. And Kate, she wasn't oblivious. She picked up on it early. She didn't yell, didn't gossip, didn't throw shade in public. But she noticed her body language shifted. She stopped trying. There were no more friendly gestures, no private chats between duchesses. Is cold professionalism. At best, if Kate felt threatened or just plain irritated by Meghan's demeanor, she never said it out loud, but people close to her noticed her shift. Kate, who had always been the picture of calm grace, started keeping Meghan at arm's length, and that wasn't missed by the press. Either articles started speculating about a Duchess feud, but none of them knew just how deep the discomfort ran. Now imagine the mental chaos William had to manage. You're the future king, your life is under a microscope, and your brother's new partner is setting off alarm bells in your head. Do you confront her? Do you talk to Harry? Or do you keep quiet for the sake of the family? From what insiders say, William tried to stay composed, but the moment he allegedly told someone she wanted to sleep with me, it was clear he couldn't bottle it up anymore. That statement wasn't just personal, it was nuclear. It wasn't just a reflection of what he thought Meghan might have felt. It was a direct hit, a confession that likely tore open every unspoken issue between the brothers. And Harry, he wasn't going to take it lightly, because even if he didn't believe it, even if he thought William was exaggerating or misinterpreting something, it planted a seed, one that grew fast and wild. From then on, every little thing got re-examined. Every time Meghan and William had shared a moment, a joke, a conversation, it all came under a new light. And Harry, who had always been fiercely protective of Meghan, doubled down. He stopped trying to patch things up. He started distancing himself more and more. Suddenly, the royal exit didn't look like a peaceful departure. It looked like an escape. Insiders say that things inside the palace got icy. Conversations became short. Meetings were tense. There were moments where William and Harry didn't even look at each other. Meghan and Kate were like two statues in the same room. No words, no warmth. Everyone tiptoed around them. It was a family under pressure, trying to pretend everything was fine for the cameras while privately coming apart. And let's not forget the outside world. The media picked up on the tension, but never really knew the cause. They blamed it on everything from jealousy to cultural differences to palace politics. But this new claim, it might have been the hidden cause all along, a personal betrayal that couldn't be explained in press releases or deflected with smiles. Now the question becomes, was Meghan really calculated from the beginning? Some people say yes, that she didn't stumble into this world by accident, that her move into royal circles was years in the making. They point to how well prepared she seemed, how she handled interviews, how she knew when to play the victim and when to take control. According to this view, Meghan saw William as the ideal target, but ended up with Harry when plan A didn't pan out. Others push back on that. They say Meghan was simply confident, charismatic, and unprepared for the palace's coldness, that she didn't chase power, she just didn't shrink herself to fit into outdated expectations. They argue the royal family didn't know how to handle a woman who wouldn't play by their unspoken rules, and any admiration she once had for William purely superficial, long gone by the time she met Harry. Either way, the damage was done. The idea that Meghan once desired William, true or not, created a crack in the foundation of the royal family that just kept growing, and now that it's out in the open, there's no repairing it. Quietly, every look, every moment, every public appearance is now reanalyzed by a suspicious public. But behind all this drama is one quiet figure, Kate, the woman who stood beside William through it all. She never aired grievances, never told her side, but maybe she didn't need to. Maybe her silence was the loudest voice in the room. Because through all of Meghan's rise and exit, through every whisper and rumor, Kate never crumbled. She just kept moving forward. And that might have been her biggest power move yet. Public silence doesn't mean private peace. While the royals put on their usual polished front, the internal fractures were widening with every headline. Meghan and Harry were gone, physically removed from palace grounds, but The ghost of everything they left behind still lingered like a shadow over Kensington, and now with this latest claim circling the press about Meghan's alleged interest in William, the spotlight is back hotter than ever. The thing that's making people stop and question isn't just a drama, it's a pattern. Meghan has always been sharp, socially aware, and unapologetically forward. Admirers see her as bold and confident. Critics, they say she's always calculating. When you line that up with the story that's now being whispered in private circles, it paints a version of her that's more strategist than sweetheart. People who knew her from her early acting days say she had this air of someone meant for more, not in a dreamer kind of way, but like she was already moving pieces behind the curtain. They talk about how she kept up with global events, powerful families, and royal gossip, not just for fun, but like someone preparing for a role, a big one. And when you look at the timing, the connections, and how quickly she integrated herself into the royal orbit, it's hard not to wonder if some of that prep came into play. It wasn't long after Meghan and Harry started dating that things sped up fast. Engagement, whirlwind wedding, and suddenly the actress from Suits was standing shoulder to shoulder with the future queen, attending ceremonies, waving from palace balconies to the public. It was magical, but to insiders it felt like something had been fast-track, skipped over. Protocols were bent, rules were ignored, the usual royal caution gone, and then things started unraveling. There were clashes with staff, rumors of tension, media fallouts. Eventually, the infamous Oprah interview where Meghan and Harry aired everything they'd been holding in: racism, isolation, security fears. It was all out in the open, but the one thing that never came up, this alleged moment between Meghan and William. Maybe it was too messy, maybe it was too dangerous to touch, or maybe it was too close to the truth. Now that the rumor is out, Meghan's silence becomes even more curious. She's not one to shy away from defending herself. When the tabloids twisted her words or painted her as cold, she responded. When the family dynamics were questioned, she addressed them head-on. But this is a quiet, and people are reading into it. Some say she's waiting, others think there's nothing to deny, but that quiet is only fueling the fire for William. The situation couldn't be more delicate, as always, being the controlled one, stoic, duty first. So for him to make a comment as bold as "you wanted to sleep with me," that's not something he'd throw around lightly, which is why the people who know him believe it might really happen. Or at least he believed it happened. And when someone like William speaks on something so raw, it usually means has been holding it for a long time. That leaves Harry in the most tragic position of all, the younger brother, now isolated from both his wife's critics and his own blood. If he ever heard this claim from William's mouth directly, it would explain so much: his quick exit, his growing resentment, his almost militant loyalty to Meghan. Because whether the claim is true or not, hearing it from your brother would hit like a betrayal, like a warning that came too late. The royal family, of course, won't address any of this officially. They'll continue the photo shoots, the tours, the scripted smiles, but behind the scenes attention is permanent. Now there's no coming back from this level of fracture. Too much was said, too much was held in for too long in the public. They're no longer satisfied with fairy tales. They want the dirt, the truth, the behind-the-scenes chaos, and this rumor gives them all of it. Meghan's next move will be the most watched. Will she break the silence? Will there be another Oprah moment, a sit-down special to clear the air, or maybe a lawsuit, a statement, a social media post that pushes back? Whatever it is, it'll define the next chapter of this saga, because the one thing she's always been good at is taking control of the narrative, turning public opinion, reframing the story. In this story, it's bigger than ever. Meanwhile, William and Kate will do what they've always done, stay composed, but people will look at them differently now. Every smile from Kate will be seen as strength under pressure. Every glance from William will be scrutinized for emotion, because now the public knows there's more to the story. There always was. This isn't just about a feud, it's about trust, power, and blurred intentions. It's about what happens when fairy tales crash into real-life ambition. And it's about how one whispered sentence, just 7 words, might have changed the course of royal history forever. She wanted to sleep with me, and with that the royal family may never look the same again.